Our Law and Justice segment tonight, new information on the Las Vegas shooter. FBI agents questioned Mary Lou Danley, the longtime girlfriend of Las Vegas gunman Stephen Paddock, in an effort to understand what drove Stephen Paddock to commit the mass murder. But since Paddock didn't leave a manifesto or a suicide note or much of a digital footprint or many other clues, authorities simply don't know what motivated the mass murder. But everybody's asking, will we ever find out why Paddock committed such an atrocity? With me now, nationally renowned forensic criminologist, Dr. Ron Martinelli. Dr. Ron, thanks for joining us.
Good to be with you again.
All right, Dr. Ron, a couple questions about the psychological profile here. So the investigation is still ongoing, as you know. Nobody wants, I guess everybody wants to jump to conclusions, but nobody with credibility wants to paint the picture before we have the facts here. But let me ask you, without the obvious, without a suicide note, without a manifesto, without a family member confirming mental illness, can his psychological profile be pieced together in the way that they are investigating him?
Yeah, I think most of it can be pieced together. As with any puzzle, we don't always have all the pieces of the puzzle. Certainly, Mr. Paddock offers an extreme challenge for law enforcement and the forensic investigators because he, according to them, doesn't have much of a digital footprint. However, we do have some information that is trickling in regards to him. We know that he was taking psychotropic medication. He was on diazepam. For your viewers, that just means Valium. It's a like I said, it's a psychotropic, which means it's a mood-altering drug, and in his case, apparently it was for anxiety. We know that he was abusive to his girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley. We've got that from some witnesses. That's usually an indication of ego and power and control issues. We know that this was a well-planned event. This is a lot like the Texas Tower sniper massacre, Charles Whitman, back in 1966. There are basically a handful of motives for active shooter mass murder. It can be terrorism, it can be mental health, it can be an anti-government sentiment, it can be an anti-religious sentiment, it can be a hate crime. And so what we're trying to do here in the forensic investigation is simply try to find the appropriate pieces of the puzzle so that we can put together in our what's referred to as a psychological autopsy his behavioral pattern.
Right, and talk to me a little bit about, I guess, this picture that you're painting. I mean, with all due respect, there are a lot of people, there are a lot of 64-year-old white men who are unkind or abusive to their partners, who are unfriendly socially, like this person, who gamble a lot, who struggle with anxiety, who maybe even have been prescribed Valium. Those in and of themselves, I understand that there's small pieces to that puzzle, but it doesn't seem to be anything that would actually trigger an event like this. Is there any way to figure out what that event was, what that trigger was that caused him from just being a strange sort of person to the deadliest mass shooter in the history of the United States?
You know, Liz, that's why I really enjoy working with you. You're so perceptive. And that's exactly right. Right now, for my puzzle, and I'm FBI behavioral science trained, I do this for a living, and I'm looking for what we refer to as the precipitating event. And so far, that is elusive to us.
Right, and we certainly haven't heard any details. I'm sure they're investigating, but we haven't heard anything from the authorities in Las Vegas about what that event could be, and that I think will give us our biggest clues. Now, you did say, we spoke about this earlier, you've written about this, you say you believe that, or you feel it's a little suspicious that there is no digital footprint, or that he doesn't have a larger digital footprint, even though he's 64 years old, and some people at that age don't participate that much in the internet, they don't participate in social media. Do you suspect that he just was under a different name? His privacy settings were very secure. Do you expect them to find something else online about him?
Yeah, I think they will. And then don't forget that the media and even people such as myself, and I do have some inside sources in Nevada, but because I'm in Nevada all of the time, I've actually been a contract specialist for the Attorney General's office there. I'm not working on this case on their behalf right now, but we are only reacting to, most people are reacting to what the law enforcement is feeding us at this time. And I think what happens, it's just a natural human behavior to want to get answers right away. expect answers to be given by law enforcement right away. That's not the way forensic investigations are done. We need to thoroughly analyze the information we have, and it's a process of elimination. And so, as I said in my article, and they can find it on drronmartinelli.com and read the entire article, there are pieces of the puzzle that are missing. But at the same time, I just ask people to slow down, take a deep breath, and not speculate or do conspiracy theories.
Right.
The things that I've seen on the media right now are absolutely ridiculous.
Right, and I mean, it's understandable in a sense. I agree with you. There's tons of conspiracy theories, absolute nonsense out there, but it is a human reaction, I think, a knee-jerk reaction, an emotional reaction to want and need that closure and to try to construct an explanation when there's not one obviously in front of us, and there isn't one obviously in front of us. Last question, Dr. Ron, and try to make this quick if you could, because we're almost out of time, but you work on cases like this. You do the forensics and the analysis on cases like this quite frequently. A lot of cases that our viewers would remember that maybe you can't reveal for privacy's sake here, but given your expertise on this, which aspect do you feel would be the most important for investigators to pursue right now? The psychological profile, the, ISIS claiming responsibility, although providing no proof whatsoever, the girlfriend, what aspect do you feel would be the most critical to pursue?
Great question. As I've written in the article, I think the key to opening up the locker of Pandora's box here is going to be the girlfriend, Mary Lou Danley. I think she was the person that was historically closest to him over the past years. She's got a strange past. There's been some money transferred out there to the Philippines. She's a Philippine native, yet she's an Australian citizen. How she's in the United States, it's probably on some sort of work visa, but it had to be extended work visa because she's been here for many years. I think she holds the key. And of course, she's lawyered up. She is being represented by an attorney. She is cooperating with police. But if I was the investigators, I would be more intensively interviewing her and going back and reconciling everything that she said to find out what is truthful and what is not.
Right, and that might be the part that we are simply not hearing about yet, because I believe that's what investigators are doing, talking with her and trying to piece together, make sense of this. Dr. Ron, I appreciate your analysis.